wound up.
Everybody heard that. Everybody heard her just say that. So now we know what's happening. I'm Michael Liebowitz. This is Everyday Ethics, a Monday edition. We got coming up at 3:15 today our live edition of Crime, Corrections, and Culture. But right now on this channel, I've just released a phenomenal interview with Val Reese Cooper, the corner man. This guy spent 35 years in prison, came out. He is Roy Jones Jr., or was Roy Jones Jr.'s trainer. Phenomenal story. Great interview. You got to check it out. But that's all I got. Now it's to Persephone to, what'd she say, get me all wound up?
Yeah. I've started watching this interview, and just from the little bit, like the first 5 minutes that I've seen, it looks like it's gonna be amazing.
It is.
So I'm very excited. So the topic that I wanted to talk about today was, or is, sticking to your principles, because
Because?
it seems like a lot of people have principles in principle, right? They have principles as long as it suits them. They they buckle under the pressure. They give in to peer pressure. They're very flimsy on their principles. And I just wanted to talk about sticking to your principles when it's difficult, when it's not easy.
Okay.
Do you have any thoughts on this topic?
Principles are good and they're important. You should live by them. But they should be
Thank you.
rational. You're going to need rational principles. You just don't want any rando principles.
No. So, you're very good at sticking to your principles.
I am.
You are. You're very good. You're very good at sticking to your principles. How did you become so good at sticking to your principles?
Practice. And a lot of it.
You got to give me a little bit more here.
I'm just having a little fun. But it's literally true. It's a commitment to doing so and then practice at it. And it doesn't mean I never stray or I never screw up, but that's what it is. And it's also to when you understand the importance of principles, that they're not just conventions or conveniences. They're actually vital to our well-being. I mean, we talk about sticking to your principles, but people think in principle and act on principle even when they don't know it. Otherwise, they would die like immediately, like a dog looking up antifreeze, licking it up, because we know we're able to conceptualize and to project into the future and understand similarities among seemingly disparate situations, commonalities among the type of people that we would want to avoid, healthy foods, etc., etc., etc.
So, there is a quote that I hate, and the quote is, just stick to your principles and rest assured that if you remain true to them, the same people who made fun of you will come to admire you. I hate that quote.
Well, it's often true, but the implication is that the reason you want to stick to your principles, or our reason, is to gain admiration. Now, I would say this: sticking to your principles will build your credibility, will build a good reputation that you can trade on. You know what I mean? You do want to have a reputation for good work ethic, for good character. So those are good things, but the primary reason to live by principles, it isn't because what other people are going to be thinking or saying about you.
No, that's also very true. But I don't know how true it is that if you stick to your principles, that people will come to it, that people who laughed at you will come to admire you. Like, I don't think that that's true.
It is.
But maybe I'm just
They might not even say it. I'm just saying, in my experience, I told this story before. There were an old Quaker woman. Was talking to her. She was a volunteer in the prison, and she was talking to me about how assertive I am. And I told her, given my mouth and given my size, it's amazing that somebody hasn't punched me in the face yet. And she said, well, Michael, the thing is, people, whether they know it or not, respect integrity. And I find that to be largely accurate in my experience.
I mean, that's also very true. So,
Don't huff and puff, woman. Just spit it out.
I'm, I'm having a hard time right now.
Why?
Life is hard right now. I have too many. Akira, don't be irritated. Think about principles. Ask some questions. You always come up with good questions. Can I tell you my issue and then we can get back to sticking to principles?
Is this going to take
My
long?
No.
Okay.
My issue is that I have too much to do and I don't like to half-ass things. If I commit to doing something, I want to do it properly. And if I have like 18 deadlines that are all like the same day, it makes me feel like real fucked up. Because
Yeah.
I can't give my full attention to things. And if I'm committed to doing a whole bunch of different things, it just makes me feel very like frazzled and at sea. And that's kind of how I feel right now. Because I have a lot of commitments
Stop taking on
that
commitments, including to
I.
me. If you can't do it, don't do it. It's funny. I just saw a thing from Ice T of all people. I don't know why I said of all people, but whatever. It's something people say. He was doing an interview and he talked about the importance of saying no to people. And I agree 100%. He said, when you say yes to people, you make their problem your problems. And he gives the example. He said, suppose my friend asked me to give him a ride to the airport and I say yes. Now I got to worry about getting up on time, being there on time. I got to gas up the vehicle. And if I'm late, he gets to be mad at me. He says, sometimes you just got to, no, it's not my thing, man. I'm not doing it. And I don't, when somebody's a friend, I think you give them a ride to the airport. But I also think that it's important to be able to tell people no. And if they don't understand that you can't do everything, then that's their problem. So if I ask you for a lot, now you could tell me no, and I'd be fine with that. The problem is when you talk like you talk just now, right? You're
Mhm.
overwhelmed, you have too much to do. People are inclined then to do their own checking. What I mean is, like, I might say, you know what, I'm not going to ask Persephone.
Yeah.
So instead of you being assertive and telling people, people will guess on their own. And then it might be that it's not that they don't ask you to do something that you really would have wanted to do. Instead, they ask you to do something maybe that's not important or you don't want to do. So you're no longer managing the situation. Somebody else is basically deciding for you. Luckily for you, I don't give a shit. I'm going to ask until you tell me no because I need help. And if you tell me no, I'll understand and be okay. But
But
there's
also,
people out there that don't operate that way.
you do make a good point. But also, I did actually I have a hard time saying no to people. I have a hard time with that. But I also did tell you that I won't be here tomorrow or Wednesday.
Yes, you're abandoning me. You know where I have a hard time saying no, and there's a reason I have a hard time saying no, and I'm really pissed about it because they come to you when you go now everywhere. I'm going to Subway. I'm going to get coffee. I'm going whatever. No waitresses, no waiters, nothing. And the thing comes up. Oh, it's going to ask you a question. They tell you, and then it asks you, do you want to tip them? Now we're in the process of this person making whatever they're making for me, my drink, my burger, my grinder. I know you like sandwiches, whatever, subs. So now I say no tip. Oh, no tip right in my coffee and I'm screwed. So I feel like I have to give the tip now.
Mm,
Do
yeah,
I don't
that's
like that.
that's not good. Yeah, but like tipping culture in America is so weird.
It wasn't
Like
always like this. It's
no,
gotten sick because they didn't used to do that. From what I understand, this picked up around the time of COVID.
Akira, you can ask as many questions as you want.
You got
You
to understand.
are
Yeah,
you're never
I will just
annoying.
not answer. I don't care. Like I don't have this issue. Like I'm no names. Somebody has this situation and they're talking. And they're saying, well, how do you tell the person no thank you? And maybe you can say this and you make an excuse. No, I would just say I don't want to do it. It reminds me, in the aforementioned prison program, there used to be an issue. There's 25 inmates in this group, and friends tend to sit together and then they talk and screw up the meeting. So they come up with all these ways to separate them. For instance, there's this game called Hurricane. So if somebody yells Hurricane, everybody has to get up and find a new seat. So it tends to separate them. So there was this group of guys sitting there, and the folks are like, well, what can we do? How can we go about it? Do we call a hurricane? What do we... I said, hold on. I went over to them and I said, guys, you got to separate because you won't stop talking. You go over there. Like, I don't need all these contrived reasons and all that. No, I'm just going to tell you no. And, the thing is, I get it. Not, what not everybody has arrived at that point. I get it. But you arrive at that point by practice, by learning that you have the right to say no, that it's okay to say no. And if the people don't understand, that's on them. People will say to me, yeah, but you're just that way. To hell I am. I wasn't always like that. I constructed that intentionally, forcing myself through discomfort to speak my mind, to say what I think. That's how you do it. That gets back to you asking me about principles. You do it by practice. It's like Danny when we're at the restaurant and he says, oh, I didn't see you. Yeah, you were talking about her to me for 10 minutes. What do you mean you didn't see her? But you're scared to say, to just tell her, oh, I just didn't feel like coming to talk. So you make up this story? That's
See,
crazy.
my issue is when it's something that I want to do, right? Or like someone that I love. Then it becomes really difficult for me to say no. If it's someone I don't care about or it's something I don't care about, I don't have a problem. But like if it's someone I love or it's like something like a cause that I'm interested in, it becomes really challenging for me to say no. I'm like, I'll work myself to death. It's okay. Um,
Okay, I'm listening. Don't pay attention to him.
no, that was the end of that, really. I mean, I don't, and I also don't know, I don't know how to fix that problem because I'm like, but it's a priority to me. You know what I
Well,
mean?
but everything can't be a priority, otherwise nothing is.
No, and I'm trying, like, that's the thing. I'm trying to be better at prioritizing.
Yes.
So, I mean, right now, I have to prioritize work, which is why I'm not going to be here just before anybody asks tomorrow or the next day.
Right.
I
So basically,
prioritize for
on
my
Wednesday, I'm going to have to do what's that show?
crime
Crime,
corrections and
crime,
culture.
corrections, and culture on my own.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best, and I'll be doing this show alone
I
because
mean, I'll send I'll
Persephone.
I'll send you some questions, and if any questions come through to the website, I will send them to you. So, um, Nicole is in the chat, and I would like to know, Nicole, did your merch arrive?
Did your merch arrive? Danny
So,
wants us to pay attention to him.
anyway, so Akira asked a question last week,
What
right?
was the question?
So Akira said the other day Persephone said that she dismissed everything that Charles too has said based on the dumb things that he's said.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing, including with him, and a friend told me, why is that different from people dismissing Ayn Rand based on her comments about homosexuality or a woman president?
And you want me to answer the question?
Yeah, that was his question.
Um, well, first of all, Ayn Rand didn't write about homosexuality. It was, from what I understand, an offhanded remark. She did write one essay on a woman president. And I mean, if Charles too has a body of work the size of Ayn Rand, and somebody tells me, look, that's just one thing he said, check it out, I would. I don't know how you get around first impressions. First impressions do matter. So in the absence of somebody coming along and telling me something else, that's what I'm going by, right? So I guess I would say I wouldn't just dismiss somebody based on one thing, but Charles too went through a pretty. I mean, that was pretty sloppy thinking. I mean, that was bad. So I don't know. I guess if the first thing you read from Rand was on a woman president, then maybe it would make sense. But I don't know. I tend to not just dismiss people based on one thing. I'd read something else if it was suggested to me. But nobody has come yet and said, "Hey, you really need to give this Charles II guy a chance." Despite that, that was an outlier. Where people will say that's an outlier for Ayn Rand, you should read Atlas Shrugged, and it's so the two aren't exactly commensurate.
Yeah, I yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on that. I can't. Just the idea of comparing Charles to Ayn Rand is just kind of
Well, what he's
upsetting.
talking about is the principle, though. That's ultimately, and it's identifying the principle is do you dismiss somebody based on first impressions? And what I would say, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Like, I don't need to, if somebody shows me that Joe Dickenheimer has written a rather extensive defense of Nazis, that's enough, right? That's enough for the first impression. Now, in relation to Charles II, again, I read that thing. It was sloppy thinking. It was not good. And I don't have any conflicting evidence. If somebody were to come to me though and said, "Hey, you should check out Charles II's paper on the relation between quantum indeterminacy and the law of identity. It's really good." I would say, okay, I'll check that out. If somebody tells me it's really good, I don't have that. Whereas with Ayn Rand, I do have people telling me, well, I don't have them, but you would have people telling you, listen, you need to really check out other things.
Yeah, and like with Charles, with that specifically, I if someone sends something to me by this guy, I don't think I'd dismiss it out of hand and just refuse to read it. Generally speaking, I don't do that with most people. Even people that I don't like and don't agree with, I'll still read or listen to what they have to say. Um, so I think dismissing anybody out of hand is silly.
I don't think you've posted the articles yet, correct?
I
Because I
haven't because,
because I had
but
you doing something else for me.
yeah, to be fair, I was busy with something
Yeah.
else. Um, anyway, if no one else has any questions, anybody questions? Um, yeah, I wanted to talk about sticking to your principles because it seems like a lot of people,
Should we identify what principles are?
yes, identify what principles are.
So Leonard Peikoff actually gives a good definition of principle. If you want to look for it, or I can look for it, I suppose. But when I personally was trying to conceptualize principle, what I meant by principle, what I came up with is a principle is a fundamental point of similarity among seemingly disparate situations. So, for instance, the principle of honesty, it applies whether, when I'm reading a book, am I going to be honest with myself? When I'm talking to Diana, am I going to be honest with her, tell her the truth? Am I going to tell Persephone the truth? It applies across a range of situations, things that don't seem alike on the surface, but actually really have a core identifying feature to them, is how I think about principles. Leonard Peikoff identified principles. Let me
A
find it.
fundamental, primary, or general truth on which other truths depend. Thus, a principle is an abstraction which subsumes a great number of concretes. It is only
Yes.
by means of principles that one can set one's long range goals and evaluate the concrete alternatives of any given moment. It is only principles that enable a man to plan his future and achieve it.
Yes. So there you go. So when you're identifying your principles, it means that they are going to apply a broad, in a variety of contexts. So when you say the principle of honesty, we know that trying to gain values by being dishonest is not in my interest. We know that because we can concretize it across many, many situations, but the fundamental is still the same. Same thing with productiveness. Justice is a big one. I'm guessing that's what we're kind of talking about here. I could be wrong. Um, Intellectual consistency, those sorts of things. My friend compared it to objectivists dismissing Kant without reading him. I haven't read Kant myself. You're preaching to the choir on that one, brother, because I'm not a fan of dismissing thinkers outright without engaging them. Um, Now, you might be able to say, you know what, it's not worth reading Kant. I've read some synopsis, I've read some analysis across here and here. And I'm not saying that you need to go out there and read everybody, but if you're going to spend time, for instance, on Facebook critiquing Kant, you ought to at least read what the man had to say. That's my take on things.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, it sucks and it's painful, but you should, if you're going to have strong opinions about things, that you should make sure that those opinions are not secondhand. You didn't just absorb what everybody else was saying. Again, reading Kant is painful though. So,
Um, Reading Kant is extremely painful. I read his book, The Critique of Pure Reason, twice while I was in prison. And I just recently read his groundwork for the metaphysics of morals. I've also read what a variety of people have said about him. I've read entries about him. For instance, I had the Cambridge Dictionary of Philosophy, so I read what that had to say about him. William James, I read what he had to say about him. So, I mean, if you're going to, if I'm going to spend time talking about somebody, I like to know what it is that I'm talking about. That's a principle that I operate. So when I want to understand Keynes, I read Keynes. When I want to understand Kant, I read Kant. I have not read Marx's book Capital. I have read excerpts from Capital. I've read an introduction to Marxian economics. I've read Friedrich Engels' Principles of Communism. I've read the Communist Manifesto and a bunch of other stuff by Marx. I've read Marxist writers. So I think I've got a pretty good idea of what Marxism is. I don't that so I have read Marx. I just haven't read the main work. But I wouldn't spend a lot of time criticizing Capital per se. While I would feel comfortable generally criticizing communism or Marxist thought.
I think that's a good practice for not just philosophy or critiquing things, but for everything. Before the internet and Facebook and Twitter and blogs have made a lot of people feel very comfortable with sharing opinions that are based on nothing more than just their feelings
Right.
or what they've sort of absorbed by osmosis, and then they share that on, and someone reads that and they share that on. So I think if you're going to speak on most things, it's good to do a little bit of research before you make a post, like write anything, speak about things. Go and do some research.
Do a little
Replace doom
research.
scroll replace doom scrolling on TikTok with, you know, reading about things. She
Speaking
says
of
as
reading, Persephone had me send her. She bugged me for quite some time to go dig up the list of books I've read. So I did it and I sent it to her, and she's going to post it at some point.
it is a very long list, and again, I'm sorry that I haven't done it, but it was a stressful weekend because my dog
Well,
ate a bee.
you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna send it to Akira Felix right now if I can find it in your thread of things that I send you, and I'm gonna send it to Akira just so Akira can have it. That's gonna be his special.
His special present.
Yes. All
Um,
right. What else? We have any other questions?
no, that was pretty much the only thing. Um, it is.
It
I
is
don't know.
what?
It's just something that's been bugging me recently, this whole sticking to principles thing. And it's funny that you brought up honesty because a lot of people it's a really good example because a lot of people say that they want to be honest, but when they say that, there is the caveat that they will lie when it is beneficial to them. And even not when it's beneficial to them, when they think it's going to be beneficial. Oh, little white lies are okay. Um, if my girlfriend asks me if she's fat, I'll say no, even if I think she does look fat. If, my husband made food that had way too much salt in it, I won't tell him because it's easier to just keep the peace.
I got a
So they'll
question
say,
for you.
hmm,
Go ahead. You continue. Why can't I just send this whole batch to Akira all at once? Why will it only let me do the front thing?
because are you trying to send from
From your
text?
page. I'm trying to
From
copy from your page and send it, but it won't let me do it unless I
you
go
trying to
through the.
text him?
Yeah, I want to send the whole thing, but it won't let me. It's only letting me do the first, or I can skip through and do them all at once. I don't like
Yeah,
that.
no, that's weird. I'm
It
not
is.
sure.
All right. Well, Akira, you're screwed, and it's because of Persephone. But yeah, so the thing is Dr. Peikoff, Leonard Peikoff talked about you want to think in terms of nobody violates principles or nobody tries to go against reality at the perceptual level. You won't walk in front of a truck, for instance. But when it comes to abstractions, we will violate them thinking that we ultimately can get away with them. And what Peikoff says is you want to chew and concretize your principles until it's clear as day to you, until you get that truck feeling when you're going to tell that lie or you're going to commit that act of injustice.
Hmm.
That's it. That's it. I go on this big thing and I get from you.
No, that was really good. It's the reason I just went is because it bugs me. That's
Why does
why.
it bug you? What bugs you? I don't even understand.
People who people who abandon their principles without even really understanding or acknowledging that they are abandoning their principles because they decide that something is more important, that it's this thing is worth abandoning their principles for.
Yeah,
And
they
that
usually
bu-
do it
that
with a nice rationalization, and now it's okay. I mean, us humans are good at rationalizing. I don't know if you knew that.
I did actually. I did. I've seen it a lot. But that just bugs me. And how does a person catch themselves when they're doing that? Because
You know why I
if I'm
hate these questions that you ask?
because they're like impossible to answer and they're very vague.
No, because the answer is you just have to really be. All of this ultimately comes down to a commitment, and only you, each individual, can make the commitment, and then practice, practice, practice to do it. Right? There's no sort of magic wand where pay attention to the ambiance or maybe the time of day or whatever. It's you just have to have a commitment to do it, pay attention to your thoughts, your motives, and then do it. And it's that. I mean, it's so simple, but by no means easy.
So just bear with me on this.
Well, no,
Someone
you're going to answer this first.
Did they really have principles? Did they have the first clue why it was their principle from the start? Um, I think they did, and I think that when I talk about this, I'm not talking about just like random people on the street. I'm talking about people who really should have known better. People who, uh, yeah, who have thought about these things and decided
Well,
that
hold on, but
something was
you're
more important.
okay.
Wait,
So
no, 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 you distracted me. I want to say something.
okay,
So someone said that there are only two stories in the world, right? A man goes on a journey, or a stranger comes to town. That's the only two stories that exist in the world. And every story in the world boils down. No, no, don't face palm me. That's
Okay.
my move. I'm
Okay.
not. I'm
What?
not Mark. You don't. You can't do that to me.
Okay.
So everything boils down to those two stories, right?
Yeah.
And I think with ethics, if you boil everything down far enough, it's very similar. It all comes down to like the same really simple uh, base. That's why I mentioned that story.
Okay, so that idea of the two stories is bullshit. That's not true. So we can dismiss that right away because it's not true. If we're going to conceptualize like that, I mean, we might as well just say existence, and that's our only concept. There's no need to perform any differentiations. So that's that. So Persephone told us this story, and I don't know why, but we still love her. She's tired. We get that. We should live by principles. Please, folks, we got 14 minutes for crime, corrections, and culture. Please tune in. That'll be a wonderful episode where we give you the straight truth about corrections, about criminals. No hyperbole, no bullshit. Tune in this channel. Until then, be ethical.